Scanning for audio.
Welcome to a Tin Dog podcast in the summer of Blakes7. Ah, yes. Now, have you emailed me? Have you sent me the email saying why you want Series 1 of Blakes7 on DVD from me? That's it. No competition, nothing exciting, no question that you'll just take a second and a half to check out on Google. Quizzes are pointless these days. No, I want you to tell me, in as many words as you want, why you want me to give you, that's the competition prize, Blakes7 Series 1 on DVD. But while you're having a think about that, let's discuss the next story in Series 1, Bounty. Yes, it's a good old A-plot, B-plot thing going on, but at least it's actually something to do with terrorism, or at least trying to sort the Federation out from within. Blake's got this plan. He wants to go and see some bloke. Now, in the 70s, that was going on all left, right and centre. Some people had decided to go into exile. Leaders from a strange and foreign land often ended up on BBC News saying, oh yes, I used to run this country or this country and I was deposed and I've ended up here, and they all end up living in a flat in Mayfair at the government expense. That's the sort of thing that happened. Well, President Sarkoff, not to be confused with President Sarkoff, which would be the name of Hans Sarkoff from Flash Gordon. Z and K. It's very Terry Nation when it comes to names. This President bloke and his companion, who eventually you'll find out who that is, but that would be a spoiler, so let's not go there, are living out the last of their days in exile in a strange place that looks like, I don't know, the New Forest or Kielder. There's a strange little castle where he lives, and he gets to drive a car that looks a lot like Bessie but really isn't, and wear flamboyant hats and have a strange accent. Yes, he's being played by T.P. McKenna, who you would see in The Greatest Show in the Galaxy. Fantastic actor, someone with a lot of presence, and you've got some decent performances coming off Rog Blake as well, but this is all about Sarkoff. Such an easy mistake to make. So our heroes are wandering around wearing their lovely anoraks. I wonder if you can still get them these days. They'd be ideal for camping. Maybe Blake7's got a lot to do with camping. I've not really thought about it that much. I know there's a lot of campiness in it, but that's beside the point. Should we get back to the plot? I think so. Your basic plot is one of persuasion. This is your A plot, obviously. Everyone on the planet, that's Callie and a few others, have come to have a chat and convince the president to return to his people triumphantly and, well, be triumphant and take out the Federation. A kind of enemy from within kind of thing. Makes sense. Of course the president doesn't want to return home, he needs to be convinced, and to do this he has to have some nice vinyl records smashed. Oh, the humanity. Seriously, the humanity. I don't know what's going on with his collection, it's very odd. But it seems to be the greatest 20th century thing. And the castle that he lives in, I know it's meant to be a space castle, so perhaps that's why the walls are sprayed silver. But you know what? The National Trust wouldn't allow that sort of thing. They genuinely wouldn't. So the banter between the two goes on. Now we've got the B-plot going on. Look over there, said everyone still on the Liberator. A spaceship. Hey, I'm Gan. I'm a lot better from last week. I'll go and investigate the spaceship. I'll beam over, and you can blow it up if you want. And then Gan beams over, and then obviously he's in trouble. But no. And eventually they end up being taken over by possibly the single oddest and possibly racist, though I'm not quite sure, possibly just people wearing towels, terrorist-type pirates-type people impersonating Lawrence of Arabia characters who happen to know Callie. It should be exciting. It should hold me. It should have me riveted. And at least, well, Villa's lock-picking skills get to be used. But there's double bluff, there's double crossing, and you know what? You're just hoping it's going to be over. Meanwhile, on the planet, there's lots of persuasion going on, and lots of ridiculously inept Federation troops. Are they sent here when they've not been very good? One guy can take his mask off, which just makes him look like he's wearing a silly balaclava, which admittedly is what the costume's made from. But if you had a balaclava and a paintball ski mask, you too could be a Federation officer. Hooray! It's rather odd that in Blake7, and the producers wanted to keep Blake7 and Doctor Who very separate, apparently not to cheapen either product, which is odd because we liked both. They didn't want any Doctor Who monsters turning up in Blake7. I know there's the whole Dalek thing, which we've covered elsewhere on audios, but leave it there. But eventually in Series D, there is a Sea Devil mask, or is it a Silurian, in a bit squidginess in a corner. But in Doctor Who, you also had the Federation Guards uniforms turning up in Frontios. Now that I didn't seem to mind, because they were using whatever uniforms were left over from their empire. So in a sense, perhaps the Blake7 universe didn't last that long, but it did manage to last well into the end of mankind in the sense of their uniforms. So perhaps there is some sort of crossover. We'll cover Calidor City another time, bear with me. Right, back to the plot. Meanwhile, in the meanstwhile, let's not do any Python gags. Basically what's happening is on board ship, there's a bit of a takeover going on. And you know what? Good for them. They're having their battle. They're having their B-plot. This is the excitement that's happening on board ship. But I just don't care. Eventually, Sarkoff ends up on board ship after crashing his car off-screen, obviously, because you never ever crash an expensive car on-screen. What you do is you have it drive off one side of the screen, then you have the standard BBC car crashing sound effect go off, and then the camera turns, and the pristine car is had its front end covered by a tree, and there's some steam coming out of it from a smoke machine to look as though it's crashed, because you don't actually damage old cars. That's the way things are done at the BBC, and that's what we like. Well, you know what? It's not a brilliant story, but it's watchable. The performance by TP McKenna and his companion, which we'll get back to, I don't want to spoil too much, works. The ending, of course, plays out very much the way you'd expect it to, and everyone's on their way home. So perhaps another strike in the forces of freedom. Perhaps not. There's just not enough Avon in this. There really isn't. And the fact that he was threatening to leave last week seems to have just been ignored. Oh, and the underlining that's, well, I don't want to say bad things about it because it's still Blake7 and it's still pretty damn good. But it's just not brilliant. There are, however, 2 more stories to go, and one of those is called Aurak. So until next time, in this summer of Blake7, be seeing you. You've been listening to the Tin Dog Podcast, available on RSS, iTunes, Stitcher, Audio Boom and Tumblr. Doctor Who and its associated works are copyright of the BBC. No infringement is intended. You can contact the show, donate, buy merchandise, or find out more about my other projects by visiting the Tin Dog Podcast homepage and clicking on the links. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance. On the 5th of September 2015, Hooverville will return. The biggest little Doctor Who convention in the whole of the UK is proud to present several fantastic guests. First off is the Colin Baker, a man who needs absolutely no introduction. Guests also include the author Jenny Colgan, responsible for Dark Horizons and Time Trips, Richard Marson, the man behind JNT, The Life and Scandalous Times, and the brand new book Drama and Delight, the biography of Verity Lambert. Dan Starkey, the man behind the mask when it comes to Commander Strax, and of course Ian the Elf in the Christmas special. Terence Dix, one of the men behind the Third Doctor and more Target novelisations than you can shake a stick at. The actor David Benson, from Robot of Sherwood, Iris Wildtime and the Scarifiers. Matthew Waterhouse, yes, Adrake. Michael Pickwood, the current production manager on Doctor Who. And Karen Louise Hollis, author of The Man Behind the Master, the biography of Anthony Ainley. More guests may be added, But either way, that's a fantastic lineup. Visit the Derby Quad website on www.derbyquad.co.uk and follow the links. Saturday the 5th of September 2015. See you there.
Tonight,